Okay, 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to YQL Real Talk. And this is your monthly news and real estate digest. So you can keep up to date on our local real estate and economy. Your hosts today, like always, are Kurtis Hawkins and Brett Gurr from Real Broker.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a change, actually. I didn't even think about it.
A little bit of a change, yeah. We ended up switching brokerages just recently, which is kind of something, kind of forgot about.
Our first podcast at Real Broker.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of exciting. It's kind of cool. So we're pretty excited to start with the new brokerage.
Yeah. What does that change for our clients? Not a thing.
Not really. No, not a thing.
Other than for us, maybe you'll see some more content, because I think with this brokerage we've already learned a lot with some more marketing and more video content as well. So.
They are certainly a little bit more in tune with some of the more digital marketing and things like that we have a tendency to do more of. So I think as far as that goes, we're going to learn a lot. We've already made certain partnerships that are going to help us and advance us in that. So
absolutely,
should be good.
But today we don't have a lot of news articles to go over, or anything too interesting, too earth-shattering. There was a interest rate drop just recently at the beginning of this month. So the Bank of Canada key interest rate is now at 4.75.
Yeah.
Does that change anything for buyers out there?
Not necessarily. It's good news. It's optimistic. They're now going down that way. Of course, the mortgage rates are based on the bond yields and things like that. So we're not necessarily going to see that affect the mortgage interest rates just yet.
No.
But
if you're a variable guy and you have a variable
yes
mortgage like I do on one of my rentals,
right,
it's awesome, because now I'm not forking out so much to the bank. I can actually put some towards my
exactly and
towards my principal,
right,
which is good, because for a while there, like literally we just looked at it for the last year, I think we paid like $100 towards principal. It was all interest.
That's rough.
And I looked at breaking it and changing it, but if we changed it to a lower interest rate, we would have to pay a penalty. Then after the penalty, our interest rate still would have, I think with a variable, it was like above or close to 7.
Right.
And then if we would have went to fix, it would have only dropped it to 5 point something at the time. So like the actual value when doing it was like very minimal. So I'm just like holding out and hoping that the rates will keep dropping a bit. But yeah, for new buyers with doing a fixed mortgage rate, they haven't come down yet, but they will.
Yeah, and in theory, it all should follow suit in theory, but not necessarily. But yeah, that is a good point. That key interest rate does affect the variable rates. Good point.
I think just the interest rate drop is like a good vote of like consumer confidence. Will get people more
absolutely
release some stress that when they renew their mortgage in another 5 years, they're not going to have to. They're not going to be worried about another price increase. Of course, we don't know what will happen in 5 years, but it's good news to see that they're coming down at the end of the day.
Exactly. It's kind of, and it also has kind of sparked up a little bit of what was already a kind of a hot market. It's kind of sparked it up a little bit as well, because now there's those buyers that have been waiting, and there's that interest rate drop that they've been waiting for. Of course, they're all probably still waiting for it to go down another 2.5%, which is not going to happen in the near future. So, but yeah. Okay. Any other news that you want to get to?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think there's much else. Just overall, what's your take on the market right now? What's your overall take on it?
Well, I was just, before we got on this, I was just saying that we were a little bit late to do this podcast, and I'm like, we were both saying that we have like our own thoughts of what the market's doing, but until you sit down and look at the numbers, you're kind of just like, how is the market doing? I don't know. We're only 2 weeks late, but I actually find doing this podcast is awesome for me, because I can always just kind of get my head wrapped around the market.
It definitely helps us keep a closer mind on what's happening in the market.
But in general, like it still seems like a super hot market. We have seen a lot of new listings come out every day, finally, to help with that low inventory problem that we've been having.
Right.
So there's a little bit more options out there for buyers, which to me, it kind of looks like it's cooling down a bit. Like listings aren't moving as quick. But
right.
At the same time, then you look back at the numbers and you're like, oh, Average market's way down.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty common for this time of the year. There's a lot of, in the spring, there's very few listings that come on the market in the spring. More of them come on the market June, July, and that kind of cools the market a little bit. So if you are one of those people that are proactive and got your home on the market in the
Early spring,
April, May, June, the market was crazy for your place, and then now all of a sudden there's starting to be more people listing their homes.
basically, it just comes down to more competition.
Exactly. Still tons of buyers out there. I am noticing that things just aren't going into competition quite as much as they were a month ago, So it seems to be cooling a little bit just based on having more options out there. So if you're a buyer, means that a little bit less likely for you to be going into competition unless you're looking at that one gem that is priced extremely well. Still probably going to go into competition, but
I think the real hot market still is suited properties. Like any suited property under 400 is crazy. I just wrote on one. We went significantly over ask, and lost out. There was like 5 offers, and we went a lot over.
And that's kind of surprising to me because we ended up, I had a similar one, and it was the opposite of that.
How many beds?
It took 0. Well,
how many beds?
Beds, 2 up, 2 down.
Oh, that's not bad.
So 4-bedroom, suited property. Garage, it wasn't quite as hot. The negotiations took a while, and the whole time I'm like, oh geez, we're taking so long to do this. It's gonna go into competition. It never did. So we ended up getting my client what I feel was extremely good deal on the property. So we'll see how it plays out. It's conditional, so see how it goes.
Awesome. I just listed a suited property here, and my guess is we listed Monday, and I'm guessing by end of the week end of the weekend, we should have an accepted offer, knock on wood. I've had a couple investors looking for suited properties, and it's been tough. Like everything that we write on has been competition. I think with one client, we've looked at a lot. I think we've written on 2 and lost out on both of them. Like the good ones still end up freaking going to competition.
For sure. Yeah, they do.
But
okay. Anyway. Get into some numbers here.
Absolutely.
Let's get her rolling. So overall, yet again, numbers are looking pretty good. So homes sold this May, we saw 221 homes sold. Last May, there were 229. The year average, last year's average is 155. So less inventory equals less homes sold.
A little bit less than last year, though.
Yeah, not overly surprising because of that. And average days on market, this one is not at all a surprise based on what we've been seeing over the last couple of months. May, 44 days on market is the average. Last May was 58, and the average last year was 52. So very, very low.
I could see, very low compared to last year. I could see this month creeping up a little bit more, closer to that average, I would say.
Yeah. Me too.
Time will tell.
I could see that happening as well, but we'll see. The month of May was pretty crazy for that. I know it was stressful on us when we had buyers because you're having dinner and the phone rings. We need to get in and see this one. You're like, yes, we do.
I know.
So it was stressful. It was tough. And then you're running out from dinner and going to show a house. So because you knew tomorrow it wouldn't be available or the next day. So
this time of year is a grind for sure. Whether it's listings or buyings or anything, it's just pedal to the metal.
It could be stressful. Okay. And active homes on market this May, we saw 362 active homes on market. Last year in May was 475, and 426 is the average. So way down. Again, way down on that.
And I think if you take, when I was looking previously, if you take out the homes that have offers on them, like just active ones, because these are active and pending, right?
Active homes sold on the market. This will be everything.
So if you take
this was everything that went on is active on the market through the month of May.
Yeah. So I think if you take out pending though, we were
Right.
at like 225.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, that's really low.
And I was looking yesterday between like 250 and 320, and I think there was, I want to say 50 of that 50, like maybe 15 were active and the rest had pending status.
Right. Yeah.
Like everything's pending.
Yeah, it doesn't take long. Even I've got one listing that's in the 200,000 range. It could use some love, and it's definitely every time just goes quick. It's like, we had the one deal crashed on it and went back on the market, and we instantly had another 4 or 5 offers.
Yep.
So it's wild. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, average home price. So we've got another high price of $379,946 for May. Last year, this time was $345,480, and the yearly average of last year was $343,135. So,
And just
again,
like
just
year
climbing.
over year, this month to last month this year. So this May to last May, that's a 9% increase.
Yeah. Yeah, it's it's wild. It's climbing. It's going up, and with low inventory, I don't see it getting any better anytime soon. Maybe it'll start to kind of level out a little bit with the more homes on the market now.
After we've done this market update for the last couple of years, there's a definite trend that in the summer, that's when prices definitely rise, and then they stay pretty flat throughout the winter, and then this is where we see the price increases.
Yeah, exactly. And average list to sale percentage, 99.1%. So darn near at asking or close to it.
So there's no deals to be had.
No. If you're coming in 30,000 under asking, at least in the month of May, anyways, that didn't work.
No. You're lucky to get 1% off.
Exactly. So on average, anyways,
average,
there are the exceptions, of course.
Well, I think the big number that plays into this is how many went over ask too.
Oh, of course.
Right?
Yeah.
So.
And based on what I know in the market, what I was feeling and what you were seeing in the market, tons were going over ask in the month of May.
Absolutely.
So that certainly raised that up. And this time last year saw 98.2, so high again last year, and the year average was 97.4 of last year. So certainly a hot market.
So not to scare buyers by saying there's a ton going over ask. Typically, how much over ask are they going?
Well, it depends, right? Like there's obviously variables involved. There were scenarios where we were 25,000 over ask and we still didn't get it.
Yeah.
Of course, that's a freak scenario. There were also other scenarios where you had to go 5,000 over ask and you were probably getting it. But there were some scenarios where you were falling flat and even going 25,000 over ask. But I think now that the summer's here, that will kind of level off a little bit. And even just the other day, I noticed there were 59 new listings just as I popped onto Pillar 9, 59 new listings on the market. And that,
this week?
Just when I popped on the other day. So it would have been in the last 3 days.
Okay.
So it would have been in the last 3 days. And you're used to seeing that sold bar far right up to it or higher than the new homes listed, and it was lower, and that's affecting based on the time of day that you look at it as well. Yeah, and I can't even remember
in general.
It was, but
for a while there, it was like 10 new listings on the market and 13 sold.
Exactly, and that was a trend that we saw for a couple of months. It was 33 new listings, 36 sold. 32.
Yeah, ideally for everybody. For realtors and buyers and sellers, you see 10 come on, you see 10 sold.
Right.
Then it's a good balance market. When you start going the other way and there's more sold than listings, then it's a seller's market. Then it's tough for buyers. It's great for sellers.
Yeah.
But sellers also need to move. So
find something else. Absolutely.
So for buyers and sellers, both sides, like everybody should just be aiming for a good balanced market. And we're starting to get closer to that now.
Yeah, and I think honestly, we will come back to that in the summertime. We're kind of starting to see indications of that happening again already.
I think what I've been saying for a long time is the reasons why listing was so low is everyone's locked into lots of people are still locked into like a 2% or less interest rate.
Yeah.
So they don't want to move. But now that those interest rates are coming down, that should incentivize some more sellers to, okay,
Right.
now I can move because interest rates are down or whatever. So,
Yeah. And I'm always surprised at how many people aren't aware that they can blend their rate as well.
Yeah.
I have that conversation with people all the time because they think they're going to go from 2% to 5%. And I'm like, well, no, you could blend your rate. And they're like, oh, really? Oh, I didn't
Yeah.
know that. And
So
so,
how that-
so that's always an option too.
Yeah,
It's-
basically how that works is whatever, let's say you have a $200,000 house and you have $100,000 left on your mortgage, you can move that $100,000 mortgage onto your next $300,000 house so that on the first 100,000, you're still paying your original interest rate. On the next 200,000, you're paying the new interest
yeah,
rate.
it would be the new rate.
So if you average them out, if one's at 5 and one's at 2, well, you're probably in that 3% range. So
Exactly.
it's not as bad.
Yeah,
So,
it's not as big of a blow as you're expecting.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks the very minute you remortgage and do that transaction again, you're up to 5% and you're just burning that money,
Yeah.
which isn't accurate.
But the other thing that people need to keep in mind as well, and I kind of tell clients this too, is like, yeah, you got to pay a bigger interest rate now. But the longer you wait, it's going to cost you more than an extra interest rate. The way if the market goes up another 10% next year,
Yeah.
like you're losing out on that, right? So it's just going to
Exactly.
cost you more in the long
Right.
run. So
And that, of course, a point to make is that is if you were staying with the same lender as well.
Yep.
Blending it. If you're, paying out your mortgage and jumping over to a different lender, more blending isn't an option.
No.
So yeah. Okay.
I'd like to see it one day. If the states, I don't know if you know this, I think we talked about it in a previous podcast.
Right.
But the states, if you have a mortgage, once you sign with your mortgage at 2%, that's your mortgage interest rate for the entire term.
Oh yeah, we did talk about that once.
And in Canada,
right?
it's only
like for the whole
5
time,
years.
like 25 years,
Yeah.
right? Yes, we did talk about
So,
that.
Ron Butler, he's the guy on TikTok, like the
Okay.
mortgage broker on
Right.
TikTok.
Yeah,
He was
the real
talking
loud
about
guy.
this.
Okay, yeah.
He was talking about this, and he had a good point, and he said that if the U.S. had the same mortgages as us, like most of them are 5 years, like 90% of Canadian mortgages
Right.
are 5-year term.
Yeah.
If the states had a 5-year term, they would have already dropped their interest rates.
Right.
But they don't need to because everyone can lock in for 25 years. So it doesn't,
Yeah,
those interest rate
that's
hikes don't affect them as much as it does in Canada.
Unreal. Wow. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. And like, why is that? How come that's not a thing here? Like
Because we
the
always
US,
get screwed in Canada.
I know the U.S. banks,
That's all there is to it.
the U.S. banks are all private.
Right.
Right. In Canada, we have the big five and then there's some other ones. But they're like way tightly regulated, and
Yeah.
there's the big five. We only have 5 to choose from for the most part, which I think is a big disservice. Just like every other lack of competition we have in Canada, whether it's groceries, whether it's
Cell
cell
phone
phones,
service,
internet, all that stuff.
It's definitely a consumer society that I don't know. They certainly they got us right, and I even dealt with that in the motorcycle industry. What I did before, you talk to the major discrepancy between what you can buy a motorcycle for here versus 3 hours south in Great Falls.
Yeah.
And the difference was huge. It was like, oh, that one's $3,000 cheaper down there, assuming, where the dollar was at. And you'd complain to your rep and they would be like, that's the way it is. There's no excuse. It's just, we charge that much more because we can.
Yeah, and in
Canada.
Lethbridge, I remember when the dollar was even at par.
Yeah.
How many people would drive across the states to go get a car or whatever?
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah, car dealerships were hurting then, and you had no justification, no excuse for it, right? And because it was all beyond your hand. Somebody's getting rich, but it wasn't the poor guy at the dealership.
Right.
But that's the way people would interpret it, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay. Anything else? I don't think.
Rate the market out of 10. Go.
Let's go 8.8 out of 10.
8.8?
Yeah, just because
8.85.
still really, really good.
Yeah.
I think now that there's just more coming on the market. I think it's making it better for the buyer. For the lister, still a great time to sell a home, but I think it's just kind of leveling off a little bit. So yeah, I'm going to throw it 8.8 at it.
Yeah, I like it too. I'm going to say 9 because it is better for both sides right now.
True. Yeah, I
For
guess.
the longest time, it was like a 10 out of 10 for sellers and like a freaking 5 for buyers.
Yeah.
But now that we're seeing that inventory,
Exactly.
it's kind of better for both sides. So
Yeah.
sellers might have to be a tad more patient, but they're still going to get the price that they want. It just might take
Absolutely.
an extra week or two.
Yeah.
That's really how good the market is. It's not sitting for months on end. So
Yeah, definitely. And it just boils down to getting your properties marketed properly and, getting an agent that's going to work hard for you.
Yep.
So, yeah.
yeah, I think we're good.
I think so too.
Thanks so much for watching this monthly podcast market update thing.
Yeah.
So
Thanks again,
appreciate
guys.
it.
We'll
If you
talk
guys-
to you next month.
If you guys like this video and want to see more, be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you shortly in 2 weeks for the next one. We won't be as long on this one.
It's summer. Give us a break.
Yeah, busy time.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Take care.
Bye.